I suppose I must talk. I'm glad we are having such good weather, and I hope it will continue the whole week. First of all, if one may remind you, this is not an entertainment. It's not an intellectual feast or intellectual stimulation or some kind of romantic, sentimental nonsense. We are going to deal with a very, very complex problem of living together in this world that has gone almost mad. There is such chaos and misery, the threat of war, and religions have played very little part in all this, in our daily life. And I think we ought to go together, not that the speaker will talk about various things, but together we ought to go into these matters. Not that you listen and the speaker talks, but together. And so, we are going to work together, think together, perceive together and act together. One must, it appears, listen very carefully, not only to what is being said, but also to listen to our own reactions to what is being said. Our reactions of approval or disapproval, our sense of restrictions, our resistances, our fears, and all the complexity of our reactions to any form of simulation. And so the act of listening is very important if we are going together to explore, to think together into the whole problem of our present-day existence. We are very circumscribed, limited. Our brains have been so programmed and conditioned, so limited, that most of us are unaware of this. We are conditioned linguistically, whether we are or not. That's a very serious subject into which we'll go into if we have time. We are conditioned, shaped, molded by the environment, by tradition, by religion, by the solitude of our own illusions, our own imagination, the solitude of our own aspirations, circumscribed, limited. So our brain, not the speaker is an expert at it, but having listened to great many people talk about the brain, specialists and others, one perceives that through this long process of evolution, our brains are very, very limited. Apparently, only a very small part of it act or think or live. The rest is in abeyance. That's what some of the specialists who have studied the quality of the brain and the workings of the brain have said. And also we can see for ourselves, without relying on the experts, that our life is very small. We are so concerned with ourselves, with our success, with our miseries and all the turmoil of one's own limited life, the sorrow, the pain, the anxiety, the various forms of reactions which arise from our prejudices, our bias, our tendencies. All this does condition our brain. And so we never have the awareness of the whole of life, the whole of existence, which is vast, immeasurable, and tremendously potent. And if we could together this morning go easily and happily inquire into our own quality of our life, if you are willing, into the nature of our behavior, into the whole process of our thought. If we could inquire together into all this, and not only inquire, but through the very inquiry apply. Inquiry by itself has very little meaning. Inquiring into ourselves, into our environment, into the state of the world, mere inquiry, either intellectual or the inquiry of curiosity, of information and so on, has very little effect on our lives. But if we inquire into ourselves, into the way of our thinking, why we think this way, why human beings who have lived on this beautiful earth for so many millennia are still what we are, unhappy, violent, ready to kill each other for some idiotic reasons. If we could go together into all this, and in the process of growing together on this path, on this road which has no end and no beginning, then perhaps our meeting here would be worthwhile. But to merely listen year after year or read and not apply has very little meaning. It's a waste of time and energy. So could we this morning be serious enough for at least an hour to look at this whole world in which we live, the world which we have created, The society is the result of our own complex life. You are conditioned by health, by environment, by our culture, by nationalism, and so on. Unless we break through all this conditioning, we'll go on as we have been going on for thousands of years. And so violence will go on, corruption, each one seeking his own fulfillment and pursuing his own ambitions, isolated. Where there is isolation, there must be conflict. And so we, this morning, go into all this. I'm asked, when he's asking this seriously, because you have taken the trouble to come here, it's no good merely talking about the ideas, the expressions, the reactions, but go into this with tremendous energy, vitality, and see if it is possible to break down this conditioning so the brain will have immense capacity. It has the capacity now, extraordinary capacity in the technological world. The computers, the biological chemistry, genetic engineering, in various forms, other activities from the outside to affect the brain. I don't know if you are aware of it. Scientists of various disciplines are trying desperately to bring about a change in man. And such change has been from the outside. And I hope we understand each other. They are trying through genetic engineering to change the very genes themselves. So the human being is something entirely different. And the computer is taking over. Perhaps a great deal of our activity, again from the outside. The communists have tried that. Tried to control, change the environment, hoping man will change. Through authority, through discipline, through complete obedience. And they have not succeeded. On the contrary, they're creating great misery in the world. So, we are asking the most fundamental question, whether it's possible not to be affected from the outside. I hope we understand when I use the word outside. Whether the outside be God, music, art, or the external laws that are established by governments, and so on. All these outside agencies, in various forms and disciplines, are trying to force man to conform, to bring about a radical change in their behavior, so that man will live without wars and so on. And also on the other side, they are preparing for war. Every government throughout the world is armed, ready to kill and be killed. So this is going on all the time around us. I'm sure most of us are aware of all this. We are asking a totally different question. Religions have tried to change man, to tame him down, to fear heaven and hell, all the rest of it. And they have not either succeeded. These are all facts. It's not speaker's imagination or bias. This is what's going on in the world around us, affecting through propaganda, through various forms of chemical engineering and so on, to force man. And they have never succeeded. And they will never succeed. Because the psyche is far too strong, far too cunning, extraordinarily capable. So we're asking you, and the speaker are asking. I'm not asking you, you are asking this question. Since all outside influences, including the idea of God and ideologies, various forms of historical, dialectical conclusions, have not changed man, whether it's possible for human beings to change radically, fundamentally, without the external influence at all. You understand? Gurus throughout the world have not succeeded. They are all pretentious and seeking money. They can be put aside completely. They are not important. But what is important and essential to ask is what will make each one of us intellectuals, whether we are scientists, whether we are artists, various forms of activities, whether we are capable fundamentally, deeply to bring about a mutation in the very brain cells themselves. Have I made this question clear? We were talking the other day in New York to some scientists. After a great deal of discussion, lasted over 2 hours nearly, I asked him, what is it? What will bring about a mutation in the very brain cells themselves? Not from the outside. Genetic engineering, biochemistry, you follow all that. What will change the brain cells themselves which have been conditioned for thousands of years. I hope you are putting this question to yourself. What would be your answer if you are serious and earnest and passionate enough to put this question? What would be your answer? If you have thought a great deal about all this, either you would say it's not possible, and so close the door for your further inquiry, or you would say, I really don't know. Is it possible? Right? We are in that position. We're not closing the door by saying it is not possible. It's impossible. How can man, who has been so conditioned for thousands and thousands of years, through vast knowledge, experience, how can that brain transform itself? It's not possible. If you are serious and put answer that way, it's not possible, then you have closed completely the avenue of inquiry. But if we are inquiring it, that is whether the brain, which has such extraordinary capacity in one direction, and so utterly limited, circumscribed, conditioned, programmed to be a Catholic Protestant, to be a British, French and English, all the rest. Whether that brain can be totally free, not free to do what you like. We're all doing that anyhow. Pursuing our own pleasures, our own solitary ambitions. Our own salvations, we are at all religiously minded. Our own isolated pleasures and illusions. That we do that every day of our life. That's a common occurrence for all humanity, pursuing their own isolated, solitary illusions, stimulations, aspirations and ideologies. And that's what they call freedom. Surely that's not freedom. Freedom requires a great deal of discipline. Please understand what we mean by that word. We'll go into it in a minute. Freedom implies great humility. Humility, innate inward discipline, and work. We'll go into those three. Most of us are so arrogant. Because we rely so much on our knowledge. We are certain our beliefs, our conclusions, our desires are so strong that we have lost all sense of deep, natural humility. Which again is a fact. How strong when a Frenchman says, I'm a Frenchman. Or when you say, I'm British. I don't know if you have noticed. God-given race. And everyone feels this in every country. The other day, an Indian was talking to us. He said, we have the greatest culture in the world. We are the most highly civilized people. I said, yes. You are corrupt. You are superstitious. Your beliefs have no value at all. Your ideals, your religion, just a scrap of words. He said, no, but we are still the highest culture. I said, all right. No, please don't laugh. This applies to you too. So, when we identify ourselves with a country, with certain ideologies, with conclusions, concepts, then we are incapable of being humble. Because then only when you are inquiring in humility, you learn, you find out. And humility is necessary. Then you see things as they are around you and in yourself. And discipline is constant watching. Watching your own reaction. Continual observation. Seeing what the source of your thought is. Why you react certain ways. What your biases are. Your prejudices. Your hurts and so on. Constant watching brings its own natural discipline, order. That's what we mean by discipline. Not conformity, not following a certain pattern, either established by society or by yourself, but the eternal watching of the world and of yourself. Then you see there is no difference between the world and yourself. That brings about naturally a sense of order. Therefore, order is discipline, not the other way around. And work, not only physical work, which unfortunately most of us have to do, not if you are unemployed in this country, but also work in the sense, apply what you see to be true and apply it. Not give an interval of time between perception and action. If one sees, as the speaker has seen many, many years ago, as a boy, that nationalism was poison. Hope you don't mind my saying it. That he was no longer a Hindu. He just walked. He was no longer a Hindu. Finished. With all their superstitions, you know, that rubbish that goes on with every nationality. So to live on this earth peacefully, in spite of the governments,